Hi guys, my name is Patrick, but you can call me 26. And what we want to do today is we want to talk about creating, reading, updating, and deleting when it comes to SwiftData, right? So we're going to create this project where you can create tasks, you can read tasks, you can update tasks, and you can even edit the names of the task titles using alerts, right? That's what we're going to build today. Before we get to today's business, you could have a look at my course, that is the e-commerce full stack application. And what we build is iStore, and iStore we build the front end and the back end. And iStore does use SwiftData. We use SwiftData in persisting our cart. So whenever you close the app, we save the contents of what you want to get into a cart. And in this cart, which also has a map, you can pick the location like so and do that. And this is persisted using SwiftData. And also among our carts, we have favorites, right? So we have our favorites here, and you could save the favorites, and the favorites are products that you like that you would want to maybe go back and later on buy. And this also uses SwiftData to save our particular favorites, right? So we do that, and also on top of it, we figure out how we can work with the observable macro when you're dealing with SwiftData. So all these are projects that we actually implement in this application. If you'd like to see the complete project, have a look at the link in the description. If you you're going to see the 26 our project in its entirety plus the source code. If you would like to see the first 12 hours of the project, they're available on my page on this channel, right? So have a look at that. Now let's get to the business of the day. So let's get to it. Now the very first thing we need to do is we need to create a model. So we could just come and we want to create a new folder for it. We could just create the actual file for the model. So we could just come here and hit Command N, and this is going to be a Swift file. And unlike in core data, you don't have to create its own the way you scroll down and you create a data model here, right? So you can just create a normal Swift file. It will use macros to actually do the necessary for you, right? So this is just going to be called task, like so. And then we come here, and in the task, what we need to do is we might need to import SwiftData. So let's come here and import SwiftData, like so. Then we come here, and the next thing to do is just say class, what it's going to be, task, the name. Of course, it's going to be task. And then we come here, right? And now for the models, we need to annotate it or decorate it with the model macro, right? So we hit model like so, and that's from SwiftData. And now we need to create an initializer. And even if you provide the default values, you still need to go ahead and create the initializer, right? So you could come here and we say var title. Title is going to be a type of string like so, and then do this. Maybe spell the string correctly like so. Then we come here and we say var is completed is going to be a Boolean false, right? So if we do this, you see like another class wouldn't complain about this, right? Because we have already provided all the values, like the initial value. So it's not there's no chance of it having a question about what the values are going to be, right? But when you're dealing with the SwiftData, the model, you need to provide an initializer, right? So this is going to be this, title is going to be this, and in actual fact, we don't need this. This was just for illustration, right? So we come here, and then afterwards, after this string, we need to provide is completed like so, and is completed is going to have a default value. We're going to say false like so, and then we're going to come here and we say self dot title is going to be title, and then we say self dot is completed is going to be is completed, right? Those two are provided. Now, right, this is a very basic model. Of course, there are other macros you could do. You could say something like you could make a value unique by adding other macros, but that's not what you're going to look at here. We're just going to look at a basic create, read, update, and delete model, right? So that is the basic model for our task. Now that we have created our task, the next thing we want to do is we want to expose our task to the app in general, right? And the best way to do that is to put it in the environment. And then after we put it in the environment, it can be accessible to other to the rest of our app. We can just get it from the environment. So let's go to the entry point of our app where at main is. So we come here and we find at main. And what we want to do is we could come here and we say we might need to import SwiftData, right? Let's just come here and we say import Swift that. So we have SwiftData here, and then we're just going to have the container. So we say let container, and container is going to be a type of model container like so. And then we could put an initializer so that we can safely open it. And here we're going to say we need a do catch. So we say do like so, and then catch in case something fails, right? Now we come here and we have the container, and the container here is going to be, we come and say try, and this is going to be model container, and you could decide whether you want it to be persisted or it to be transitory, right? But what we want is, we just want it not from but for. We want it for, and we want to have it for the task, right? Task.self, like so, right? And here, if it fails, we just pass, we have a fatal error. So we come here and we say fatal error, and the message in question is going to be failed to initialize model container, right? And then afterwards, we can provide it in our environment. So how you do that is on the window task group, or if you only want to provide it in the content view, we could provide it also in the content view or in the window task group. Either is okay, right? So we could come here and we say something like dot model container, and this requires a container, and here we could just pass in the container, right? Now, what if you have multiple containers? For example, in the app that we're building, or the app that I referenced, we have two containers. We have one for the cats, and then we have one for the favorite, right? If you want to provide both of them, you put them in an array, right? So if you have two of them, you would come and say something like, do this, and then say container 1, and then comma container 2, right? It doesn't exist, so it's going to complain, right? But if you're only passing one, you can just pass in the name, right? If you're passing more than one, you can pass them in an array, right? So now we have this, and this would also work if we actually came here and I believe came here and provided it here, right? So either or, I prefer this one where we put it directly, we expose it directly on our content view. That's what you're going to do, right? So that is done, and now we have access to our containers on the environment, right? So let's proceed from there. Now, I'm going to show you the final project that I referenced, and here is how we provide it, right? So we provide here the case of the model container, and we have two containers, one for the favorites, that's the product one, and one for the cats, which is going to be the cat model. So you provide them like this, right? You say model container 4, and then you put an array of the product model.self and the cat model.self, right? So with that being the case, we could go back to the app that we're currently building, and then we have here, and now we can go to the content view. And now in the content view, what we'd like to do is we now have access to the model context through the environment, right? So what we could do is come here and we say we want environment, like so. And here we're going to say model context. Okay, it's making the right search. Okay, slightly wrong, right? This is going to be model context. So we provide the model context here, and this one is going to be called the model context, like so, right? So we have the model context, and it's going to be available for us. And then afterwards, we need some state variables for the task input and the task editing, right? So what we could have is going to be something like this. This is going to be that, but we don't want it to be called new task. We could call it text. We could call it new task title, like so. Then we come here, hit Command D, and we get another line. And the next one is going to be, let's say we want one for the we could just have the new task title, right? So that we can create the new task. Then we'll see the others later, right? We can create them as we go along. We could get rid of our image and our text, like so, right? So what we need to do next is in our VStack, we need to create a new task. So we could put that in an H stack. Come here and we say H stack, like so. And here what you're going to have is going to be a text field. Let's have a text field. Come here and say text field, like so. And here it's going to be new task, and the text is going to be the new task title. And we could say the text field style, and this one is going to be rounded border text field style, right? That's going to be this one, like so. That's done. And then we just have a button. The button is going to be simple, and the button is going to have the word, it's going to be simple, right? So we could say something like add. Then come here, and what we want to do, we just want to add the task, right? So we just say add task, but the function add task doesn't exist, so you could create it here, right? Now this function is going to be pretty straightforward. What it's going to do is just going to be func, and it's going to be called something like add task, like so. And what you're going to do here is you're going to say guard. We don't want to add the task if it's empty. So we say not new task title empty, else return. That's correct. That suggestion was correct. Then we say let task, and task is going to be task with new title task, right? And then we come and say model context dot add, and we add the task, and then the new task title is going to be an empty string, right? I don't know why it suggested add. It's supposed to be insert, right? Insert, and here we're going to say something like task, right? And then we set it back to empty, like so, right? Now, what we want to do is we want to test it out, and we can just call it here. And here we can just say add task, right? So if we add task, if you hit add task, this task is going to be added, right? So let us put this to good use. Let's come here and we say, we want a new task, and let's say, okay, like so, hit add, and it clears out, but we can't see it, right? Now, we don't know if it works because we're not displaying anything, right? Now, in order to display it, we need a query, and a query can do a lot of things. I'm going to be talking about that maybe in another video. What we want to do is just come here and we say at query like so, and here we're going to have var, and we need an array of tasks, right? So we say here tasks like so. We can just call it tasks, and this is going to be an array of task, right? And that's going to be that, and it's complaining because we have not imported the prerequisite, which is going to be that, right? So import that, that's going to be fine, right? And now we need to see if there are any tasks available, right? So how do we get that? We come down here after our h stack, right? After our h stack, what we would want to do is have a list, right? Now the list is going to loop through each task, so we could come here, give ourselves a bit more real estate, come here and we say for each, and what this is going to be, it's going to take in the tasks. Is it tasks or tasks? Tasks, plural. We pluralized it. Then in the closure, we're going to come here and we say this is going to be task in. And then after that, we're going to come here and we say this is going to be the h stack, like so. And then we're going to have, we could use a toggle. Let's for now just have a task with the task title, right? So we have that, and that's just going to loop through and add all the possible tasks that are available to ask, right? And that's going to be that. And the next thing we could do in our VStack, we could wrap our VStack, maybe make it look a bit prettier by putting it in a navigation stack, right? So we could come here and we say, we want navigation stack, like so. And then we could just get the VStack, and we could hit Command Shift. Okay, I've forgotten it a bit. So let's just cut this, put it in the navigation stack, and then inside here, put a navigation title. Navigation title is going to be tasks, right? So that's going to be that, and we can proceed from there. Okay, let's put it to good use, and how we do that is we just run it, right? So let's come here and run it on the device, and if we run it, we should be able to add a task, right? Give it a second. It's taking a while to install on our iPhone. And there it is, right? So if we come here and then we say, okay, and hit add, like so, you're going to find in our list that now we have a task here, right? So that our task has been saved, right? So we can actually proceed from there, right? And continue. You'll notice is that we don't need to, after we just insert into our model, we don't need to save it, right? So if, for example, we stop and then we restart, you will notice that our list will still have the task that we saved. In this case, we have the task that says okay, right? We didn't need to save, and the reason for this is that saving is automatically enabled, right? If you want to disable that, you can do that, right? You can say that don't save it until I tell you to save it, right? But the default action is to add it, right? So that's why it saves automatically, right? So that's done. Now we are done. We have done create and we have done read, right? You can read from here. What we'd like to do next is something like update, right? Update and delete. And in update's case, we're going to use, it's going to be edit. Editing is updating, right? So what we could do is we could come here and hit Command D, and here we're going to have, let's have an alert, right? Let's come here and say, we just want to say state, and this one is going to be called var is edit alert presented, or something that makes sense to you, right? and then afterwards hit Command D, come here, and this one is going to be edit task title, right? Or something that makes sense to you. That's going to be the edit task title, like so. And then we have another state property. Come here and we say state. This is going to be state, like so. And this one is going to be var. We say task to edit. I don't know why it has two S's. The suggestions are a bit off, but this is going to be it, right? Task to edit, right? Then we come here, and the next thing to do is, let's see, we are going to have for us to update, we would come, instead of updating, we could have a toggle, and the toggle, if you can remember with our task, is whether or not a task is completed, right? So what we're going to do here is, let's come to, in particular, where do we put it? We put it in our list, and for each in the H stack, we're going to have, let's first create the function that is going to do the updating. I think it would make a bit more sense to do that. And for that, we would come here, and this function is going to be called func, and this one is going to be called update task, right? Update task, and this one requires a task. So we could come here and we say, we just want a task of type task, like so, right? And is completed is going to be a Boolean, right? And then what we're going to do here is just say task dot is completed is going to be set to is completed, right? Then we come and we try saving our model. We say try, and we're just going to say model context save, right? So now when we update it, we want to save it directly. So we explicitly say after updating, make sure you save it, right? So that is done. And we could come back to our list, and in our list now we could use maybe a toggle here, right? So what we want to do is we could come here and we say we just want a toggle, and in the toggle what we would have, it requires an is on, and this one is going to be binding, and we have a binding here, and this one is going to be we say that this is going to be get is going to be task completed, set is going to be that set is going to be let's just come here and we say this, right? Get is going to be this, set is going to be, we come here and we say new value in the closure. Then we come here and we say, we call update task, and the task in question is going to be the task, right? And then is completed is going to be the new value, right? So we have the new value like so, right? So that's going to be that. And here it's complaining because we need empty string for toggle. So what we could do is we could just provide it. Come here, provide this empty string, or the name that you want on your toggle. In our case, we want it to be our string is going to be an empty string, right? So that's going to be that. And what we'd like to do next would be, let's just run it and see it, right? So let's just hit Command R or hit play, however you want it. And what you're going to have here is going to be this. And we would like on the toggle here, right? On the toggle here, we could come and do this and then have the task.title, right? So come here, cut this, and then maybe ditch the space also while we're at it, right? Come here, do this, right? So we do that and get rid of this. We can get rid of this, right? So that's going to be that, and that's going to be our toggle. Let's just run it and see it in action, right? Okay, so now we can set our toggle to be the task is that, and the task is going to be complete, right? And then we could stop it and start it. And then when we start it, our task is going to be completed, right? If we set it to uncompleted, then stop and start, the task is going to be uncompleted, right? So you see our task is set to completed, uncompleted, right? So that is the case, and that is what our tasks look like. Now we can create a task, we can update a task, and let's create another one. Let's come here and we say this one is going to be task 2. Task 2, hit add, and task 2 is added, and we can do the same. We can do that, right? So we can decide on whether to update or whichever we want to update, right? Now we can create, update, create, read, and update, right? The next one to do would obviously be to delete, right? So what we would need to do is we would need to first create the function that is going to be to delete the task, right? Let's create the functionality that is going to allow us to delete the task. And we're going to use one of the lists methods, the one where you can slide it to the side and delete it, because it's going to be the easiest rather than creating or creating a whole new way to delete it, right? So let's come up here, let's create a function, and this function is creatively going to be called, the function is going to be called delete task, and it's going to do exactly what you want it to do, right? And here we're going to say we want it to be deleted at a particular offset, right? We're going to use the method that comes available with this particular, right? So what you could do here is you could say for, and we say index at in offset. What you're going to do is say model context, and the task is going to be the particular index, right? So that's going to be that, and that's going to delete it, right? And what we want to do is come to our list, right? And in or on our list, what we'd like to do is we would like to use the OnDelete modifier, right? Which is going to allow us to swipe to delete, right? So let's just come here, and what we want to do here is say dot on delete. Is it supposed to be inside, or I think here, right? On delete. What we'd like to do on delete, we want to perform, and what do we want to perform? We want to perform delete task, delete task, right? Let's see, by running it. Let's come here, stop this, hit Command R. This is going to run our app, and we can come here, and now we can just swipe to the right, and we can delete. We can do this. Hit delete, and it's deleted. We can check that it's deleted by stopping it, starting it, and you can see after deleting that, we might need to come here and we say this, right? So come here, do that, and save it, right? So we do that, or we could just do it after this, right? After that deletion, just come outside and do this, right? After deleting it there, just move outside and then delete it like that, right? And so if we stop it and start it, now we can try again and do this, hit delete, stop, run, and hopefully we come back and we only have one, right? So you can see now what we've done is we have the ability to create, right, read, update, and delete a task, right? So that is done. Supposing you want to change the name of the task, right? So how you would do that is, let's create a function. Let's just come here and say func, and this function is going to be called PrePrepare for editing, right? Editing like so, and here we're just going to take the task in question, and what we want to do with the task is we're going to come here and we say task to edit is going to be the task, and then you're going to say edited task is going to be task.title, and then you're going to say is edit presented is going to be true, right? So that's going to be that. Then we need a button that is going to do this for us, and what that is going to look like is we come here, and after the task.title where we're showing it here, what we'd like to do is we would like to say something like button, and button, and here we're going to have the text is going to be edit like so, and we're just going to come here and we say prepare for editing, and the task in question is going to be the task, right? Because we're still within the task here, right? Yeah, so that's going to be that, right? So we do that and give it a second as it loads. Then what we'd like to do is after our navigation title, what we could do here is we could have an alert, right? We come here and we say alert like so, and the alert is going to have edit title. It's going to be called it's going to have a title of edit title, edit task, or rather edit task like so. Is presented requires a boolean, and this is going to be $ is edit alert presented like so. And then you're going to come here and we say or we could come here and we say before that we could, let's get rid of this, we we put actions, come here and we say we want actions like so, and we hit this, and what we're going to have is going to be a text field like so, a text field, and this one is going to be task title like so, and the text in question is going to be $edited task title like so, and then we're going to have a button, and the button is going to be it's going to be update like so, and the action in question is going to be save. Have we created that? Let's see, probably should create it first. So let's just come here and we say this one is going to be called func. This one is going to be called something like func save task edit, save task edit like so, and we're just going to come here and we make sure that we actually have a task. So it's going to be guard let task, and task is going to be task to edit else return like so, and we're going to say here task dot title like so is going to be that, and this is going to be edited task title like so, and then we're just going to save it. So we could copy this, right? Come here, copy this, and then paste this line here, right? And then we could save it. Let's go back to our button, and for our action, what we want with our button is we would like to save it, right? So that's pretty straightforward. That's going to be save task edit like so, and then we also need another button to cancel in case we don't want to do that. We say button, and this is going to be it was the suggestion. Let's see if it can do it again. Okay, come here, say cancel, and the rule is going to be dot cancel, right? And we don't have a delete one, right? And after this, right, we need a message here, I believe, right? Come here and we say message, and the message in question is going to be, the message is going to be text, and this is going to be edit task, right? Now we have an edit task like so, right? And we would say here, we would come here and we say we have an action like so, and we do that, right? So we have an action. We're not going to do anything on it, but let's just put it there, right? So we're going to have that action, right? Now, if we have done everything according to plan, we should be able to try it out. Let's try it out and see if everything is working as we think it should work, right? Okay, give it a second, run it so that you can install on your phone. Let's see it. Okay, so we have this, right? So let's add a new task, or rather, let's call this task 1, right? So let's hit edit, and we get the task, and we get the actual title, which is going to be okay. We don't want it to be okay, we want it to be new task, right? And we hit update, and then it changes to new task, right? Stop this, restart it, let's see it, right? New task like so, edit it, change our mind, hit cancel, continue, right? Edit it, change our mind, hit cancel, and that works, right? So now we can actually create our task. We can read the tasks and show them in a list. We can update the task by updating one of the values of the task, whether or not it's completed, using the toggle. And we can also, if we choose, decide to edit a task, right? We can edit the name of the task title, right? So that is a high-level overview of everything you need to know about creating, reading, updating, and deleting when it comes to SwiftData. And if you want to see a project that is run by SwiftData, you can have a look at my project, which is in the link in the description. If you want to see, it's a 26-hour course. If you want to see the first 12 hours of the course, they're available on YouTube. If you want to see the complete course plus the source code plus other goodies, just have a look at the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.